Today, the topic is Asia-African Economic Cooperation, activating trade corridors, industrial partnerships, and investment opportunities with AACCI. Today, our speaker is Mr. Rhavy, a logistic and trade architect working at the intersection of trade corridors, industrial development, and investment architecture across Africa. He is the founder and CEO of Logic Consult, a firm focused on designing logistics, multimodal corridors, trade platforms that support regional integration and industrial growth. Mr. Rhavy also serves as the Trade Commissioner at the Asian African Chamber of Commerce and Industries and is also a chartered member of Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, that's CILT. Through his work with governments, industry leaders, and financial institutions, he focuses on developing integrated corridor systems that connect Africa with global markets. Today, he will share insights on Asia-Africa economic cooperation and growth, role of trade corridors, industrial partnership, and investment platforms in shaping the future with the global trade. We all welcome you, Rhavy, on behalf of the whole AACCI family. Welcome aboard. Thank you for spending your valuable time and being with us, Rhavy. You are most welcome today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. It's a pleasure.
Now, first of all, thank you for coming. Again, we start up, but I believe you have some beautiful presentation which you would like our viewers to have a look at. So I would hand over the webinar to you for your very nice webinar. Over to you, Rhavy, please.
Thank you. Let me just share this one here.
It's okay, no problem, but still.
Yeah, let us go through this one then. So, can you hear me now? So basically,
I'm not worried, Rhavy, because I have a live presentation in front of me. The real man is yours.
Okay. Okay,
so
thank you, Mr.
Puri. Let me start with some, a shower of questions that all the audience has been waiting for to understand, because everybody has a couple of myths trying to understand the Asian-African trade corridors. So you would be the best person, I believe, can guide them honestly how things happen. Okay, the first question to you is, we always have been discussing on one thing, that the global economy is undergoing a major reorganization. From your perspective, what are the main forces driving this transformation and how will they reshape the global trade in the coming decade? What do you think about this?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think there are some very important aspects that are changing today. Supply chain reconfiguration in itself. People are no more talking about, let's say that we started having 3 different major blocks. US for being the capital center, as well as innovation. EU with everything that they had with their 400 million consumers. They were the one who led in terms of legislation. And obviously, over the last 40 years, we saw the rise of China. China as being the major global manufacturing hub for the world. But things are now changing in terms of at least 6 different aspects. So we have now supply chain reconfiguration, a lot towards what we call the nearshoring hub, and Mexico is a very good example. This is a very good example of what is happening at the moment. So we've got the geographical fragmentation in itself. We see it, we are seeing this now with the conflict in the Middle East. We have also a lot of industrial relocation, energy transition, digitalization of trade, resilience of logistics system and logistics system in itself. So in a nutshell, production, trade, capital, technology, supply chains are being reconfigured so that we have a new now economic corridors that are becoming the backbone of global trade. So we will see a lot in terms of intersection between ports, industry, and markets.
Well, I guess, yes, you're rightly saying that things are getting now in position, in shape. Earlier, control much was with the US, but yes, and China as well, but yes, this is going great. The second question to you is, well, this is very important because I know you travel extensive in Africa, those staying in Mauritius. So most of the time when we speak, you are in Africa all the time. So this question straight away at your desk is, Africa is entering a very decisive phase of economic transformation with the implementation of the African Continent Free Trade Area and increasing investment in the infrastructure, and especially in the logistics. What do you see as the most important opportunities for Africa in this evolving the global economic landscape? How do you phrase that?
There are two things in that. Number one, obviously, Africa's strategic moment. Africa's strategic moment is very important today in the whole geopolitics that's been changing. There are four elements that drive this. One is number one, the demographic. Africa's population is expected to reach 2.5 billion by 2050 and a median age population today of 19 years old. When we look at, for example, Japan's median age is 49, followed by 45 in South Korea. So you already see something that is huge. Number two is you talk about AFTA, that's in terms of a market integration, and that's expected to bring a common market of 1.4 billion people. Resources, there's critical minerals, agriculture, energy, and only the energy amounts to about 30% of the global reserve. And obviously today, when we look in terms of Africa, Africa is very well positioned geographically to be the gateway of the major global systems. I was recently in Djibouti, and when you look at Djibouti, Djibouti is the gate for the Red Sea. Obviously, at the moment, there's quite a bit of things happening in the Middle East, but connecting Asia to the Mediterranean Sea, that is to Europe, going through Djibouti, is something that I think is going to take up in the future. So what are, I think we also need to look at it in terms of corridors rather than to look at it at the countries, because at the end of the day, yes, Africa is a land of countries, 54 countries, but beyond that, it is a land of tribes, kingdoms, and groups of people. And this is very important to understand how the mechanism of a system in Africa works. So you may have, for example, Cotonou and Lomé. You see children walking from Cotonou in the morning, cross the border to Lomé. They would study, come back in the afternoon. It's the same people. So it's mostly the understanding the cultural aspect is so important. In terms of, and this is why we need to look into corridor rather than we look into countries. And I think for the moment, there's a work that has been done by a number of parties, whether it is the African Development Bank, whether it is the AU, even the EU has recently has a program called the gateways, the economic gateways. So, but for me, I find four different corridors that I studied, which are interesting. There's the Northern Corridor starting from the port of Mombasa, which link up to Rwanda, Burundi. Then we've got the Durban North-South Corridor. Durban starts from Durban, goes up to Lumbashi in RDC. We've got Durban, Johannesburg, Azuka, DRC, and we have also Mauritius, obviously, which is an island, but it is in the center of the Indian Ocean. So Mauritius can become the maritime and financial interface. We spoke about it last time with everything that's happening in the Middle East, but rerouting Asia, Africa going through Mauritius in terms of ocean trade, capital interface, and also the Asia-Africa connectivity. And last but not least, this is where I think it's going to happen. This is the boom, is Abidjan, Lagos. Abidjan is the economic capital of Cote d'Ivoire, but also the economic capital of the South African Francophone markets. And Lagos is obviously Lagos. But in terms of looking at the way forward, I strongly believe that when we look at analyze the East African markets, East Africa is third generation enterprises shifting or transitioning towards the fourth generation companies, as opposed to West Africa, where you have obviously a population of 400 million plus, growing at the moment, but it's also first generation enterprises shifting towards the second generation. So only Benin has an economic growth of over 6.1 or 6.3%. You've also got countries like Ghana, Ivory Coast, which is doing about 6.5% of economic growth. I believe that this is where the next boom will come.
Well, I very well agree with you because while I was speaking to a couple of other Asian friends, I really could find a lot of people still considering Africa as one country. I mean, we have to intercept and say, brother, I mean, it's made up of 54 countries, but it's such a to see that the whole continent is being known as one single country. That is the kind of brotherhood Africa holds. I mean, like, there is no other opinion about it. It's, well, Mauritius, of course, is an awesome place. Like, there's nothing more beautiful I would love to say. It's an while we were speaking, you were speaking about the growing importance of economic corridors, like linking ports, that's what you just mentioned, logistic platforms and industrial zones and markets. Now, why are these corridor systems becoming so central to economic development and trade integration? Why?
Very interesting question. The African economy has that work on the template that is extraction, ports, and beyond globally, most likely towards the Asia. So this is why you constantly see a lot of commodity trading. But over the last 10 years, I would say, over the last decade, there has been a strong political will from countries, especially in terms of West Africa and Central African, to be able to shift towards what they call transformation. What they call transformation is indeed industrialization. And this is where we see now one of the emerging industrial logistic platform, which is really spearheading this space, is Arise, which you know very well. So they have now industrial parks integrated industrial parks in Gabon, in Benin, Lomé. They've got 3 spots that they already start taking in terms
of one in Nigeria as well.
Yeah, Nigeria. And very interestingly, they have now spotted 3 places as their entry in East Africa, in Mombasa, as well as in just off, I think it is in Naivasha, which is just after Nairobi. So the idea today is not the idea, but what is being pushed at the moment is to be able to go for industrialization. And when you look in terms of industrialization, so what is going to happen is to shift from extraction port Asia to a model where there's extraction, but also value creation. And we are now talking about, I just wrote the large strategic blueprint on Abidjan-Lagos corridor. And we are now talking about a value creation of up to 60% of a value chain that needs to be done here in Africa. So, and from there, then it can be exported. I believe that there's a need to have a more of a shared value prosperity concept that needs to happen between Africa and Asia. So this is where, and it is very important to see that wherever you see corridors is not only a road, but it is connected, what we call about value chain integrated corridors. So that's where your industrialization is done. But also, this is where you connect to markets. You connect also to investment, because investors today are not interested just to come in and to invest part here and part over there. There need to be an integrated thinking process in terms of how we are going to invest, in which direction, and how can we leverage in terms of critical mass and economics to be able to move forward. But it provides
okay. But as we were talking about the traditional, I mean, like my next question is on the same line then. Like we have usually observed, seen that traditionally trade between Asia and Africa has often been based on import and exports. I mean,
Yes.
traditionally. So how do you see this relationship evolving towards industrial cooperation and joint development of value chains? Because in my last webinar, I was discussing on adding value to the exports, correct? So
Mhm.
how do you see this, joint development of value chains coming up?
Very interesting. Actually, the current African, what I would say, name the next generation African industrialist needs to be someone who is open to a partnership. And I think
Okay.
the one of the good partners that is fitted in would be Asians. Why? Because Asia, I was in India recently, and I think we spoke about it. I was very surprised of investment that the government of India, for example, have invested in R&D. So you don't see that R&D a lot of places. So for me, what Africa has today has land, resources, people, market, but what Asia has research and development, has technology, capital, know-how, and bringing them together, and obviously market, bringing them together, that's where we will see the next investment, joint ventures, possibilities that can be framed for the development of Africa. Africa, up to now, has had a lot of development in terms of debt. So all donors from, but that aspect of mobilization of private resources hasn't been really happening. Let me give you some indicators. The global benchmark for private contribution in infrastructure, for example, is 50%, but Africa is only 12%. So there's a big gap towards that, and the new president of the African Development Bank is trying to address that gap. I also see, for example, in the Ivory Coast, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has a particular direction for the promotion of private investment. So, I really think that there's a need to be a shift now to focus in terms of that aspect of joint ventures, but at the same time, recognizing the sovereignty of different countries and the value creation and wealth creation that stays in different jurisdictions.
Still, thank you for this. I mean, thank you for this very nice update. But yes, I remember we were discussing yesterday on something wherein you were highlighting some sectors like agro-industrial value chains, mining and mineral processing, energy systems, logistic infrastructure, and digital trade platforms, of course, part of fintech. Now, where do you see this value most immediate opportunities for cooperation between the Asian and the African partners? What sectors do you think are the prima facie requirement or maybe can be engaged as early as possible or on immediate basis? So what do you think are the most top on the priority list? Industry you believe
There, for
somebody
me,
is
there are
looking
five. Yeah,
for?
for me, there are five areas. Like I said, so it's agro industry is number one. That's where there's a lot of potential. Just give you an example. I was in Tamil Nadu recently, and I met with a gentleman who was producing chocolate. I said, "Wow, this is interesting. Where do you get your cocoa from?" He said, "I just bought it from someone who lives nearby in my neighborhood, and who imports that from Ghana." I said, "Why do you have
Wow.
to import from Ghana? Then bring your technology and let's do a joint venture here, and you produce, then you will get so much in terms of capacity." So agro-industrial is very important. And when you look at in terms of agro-industrial, you've got obviously cocoa, cashews, corn, grains, chocolate, the whole flow. Just for your info, Ivory Coast, which I know well, has over 29 value chains in terms of agri business. 29 in itself. So that gives you the level of wealth of its land. Next to that is minerals. Now, in terms of minerals, we need to be very clear into that. A lot of people think that, yes, we are just going to take out minerals, extract, and then we are going to send that for gold, for jewelry, all this stuff. I don't think that this is a very clever thing to do now. In this age, when you look at whether the Middle East, whether the US, they're all looking for minerals. And what's the reason? The reason today is semiconductors. I know that India is investing massively now in terms of producing semiconductors, because today, what are we going to see in the new economic world? We are going to see those who control maritime trade routes, those who control energy and data. Data needs today minerals. So they need semiconductors, and this is where mineral comes from. Yes, we need to extract, but we also need to come here to be able to do joint ventures to process so that we can have minerals coming in to be plugged in. And as a matter of fact, Lumbashi, which is in RDC, is well known to have a lot of those resources. I think there's also VT here, but also in Lumbashi, there's quite a big potential for people who are interested in terms of value chain processing to be able to come together and then process that to go further. So lithium, cobalt, copper, manganese, gold, platinum. These are the various things that do come in including battery. So there's quite a number of things. The third aspect would obviously be energy. Energy, I might be politically wrong here for some, but I still believe that oil and gas is very important. Oil and gas is still going to be important for the next 10, 20, 30 years going ahead. So there's quite a number of potential here that has been revealed in terms of potential for oil and gas, starting from Mozambique, obviously Namibia. We keep on the whole west coast is up to Senegal. There's a full potential of oil and gas. We've also got the second one, which is rail or bioenergy, and this is something that we really need technology. I think that Asia can bring that technology. Is biomass, biogas, and biofuels. This is massive. And obviously, we have a renewable, which is solar, hydro, wind, green hydrogen. But let me share with you something. People are moving a lot today towards the renewable. And we don't put energy, or we don't see the potential in bioenergy. I think bioenergy is going to be very important because Africa's industrialization is on its starting block, and it really needs energy to be able to move forward. So this is a very important aspect. We've got industrial and logistics platform, obviously. So in terms of SEZ, I think Arise, who you've done some work before, have done a particular remarkable job spearheading this one, but there are also other players coming in. So what the concept of logistics or industrial real estate developers, this is massive. We just saw the Africa Logistics Zone where the Port of Antwerp took 60% of stake, the government of Benin 40% of stake. And even in some areas, so it's a joint venture with the government. Ours has been doing joint ventures 60 or 65%, and then bring the whole concept together. So I think this is something very important to do. Then we've also got digital trade. We need to understand, also to appreciate that Africa has got a lot of potential today, a lot of brains that have been studying a lot in US, Canada, and beyond. And they are bringing that knowledge here, but obviously it will be important to bring capacity or technology that has already been developed here. So data center, everything that's fluidified today, this aspect of trade, connectivity, removing all the different barriers.
Thank you. I think you have actually explored a lot of good areas. So out of all this, I believe, including my viewers, we understand that Africa is a fantabulous platform with a lot of opportunities, a lot of facilities, whereas the Asian countries also hold a lot of good technologies, and the partnership can be done. But the most important, is vitamin M, finance, correct? So with the opportunities, correct, what types of investment structures and financial platforms are needed to mobilize private capital for this kind of opportunities?
I think it is some interesting, again, question which needs to be looked into. How do we structure investment? Investment for me is on two ways. Number one, you invest here in a special economic zone. Why special economic zone? Because Africa, up to now, all reports shows that the level of stability is still emerging. These are emerging markets. So,
Okay.
so one of the instruments to be able to invest would be through a special economic zone, because the special economic zone is another jurisdiction in a country. And secondly, is to be able to structure the investment on an international financial center. Obviously, you've got Mauritius, which is the IFC, just for your info. Mauritius IFC International Financial Center has mobilized over the last few years 85 billion USD for Africa's development. You've also got the Morocco one, the Casablanca IFC, which is very aggressive, specifically in terms of the Northern and Western Africa. And you've got the one that is emerging is Rwanda Financial Center. I think these are the three ones that you can obviously route in terms of investment. So the de-risking factor, of investment is critical while going cross-border, especially in Africa. Africa is very relational as opposed to the West, which is very transactional, and doing something on the international market, which is very regulated. So this brings a lot of potential. Now, this is in terms of equity, but also on an IFC, you're able to raise funding in terms of debt. So the capacity of raising debt, if you've got a good business modeling or a good business plan, so you are able to raise about 70% of your debt. So what is required today is to say, let us take a mechanism. Let's say Africans get 60% or 65%, remaining Asian in terms of equity. Then the rest, we bring that in terms of raising debt, structure that on an IFC. So we de-risk the factor. And when there's trade happening, so it's much easier for fluidity of treasury is to go through an IFC, because IFC also does not have this issue of this limitation of foreign exchange mechanism. So this is how I see that.
I really have no words for such an easy explanation, Rhavy, that you have been doing today. You have been splendid today. But yes, before we end the session, I mean, the last question always, correct? Like as AACCI is always, I mean, the thumb rule that our chairman, Dr. Jiri Singh, has always, asked us to do is actions, they speak louder than words. That is the only, principle which AACCI has always been carrying forward, and that is maybe the reason Asian African Chamber and Commerce Industries have been awarded as the fastest growing chamber. So again, throwing back the same question to you, moving from dialogue to action. So like finally for those companies who are institutions who are engaging Asian African cooperation, or what are the most effective ways to move from dialogue to actual concrete cooperation and partnerships? What is the way
They are
out?
free.
How they should be doing it?
The pathway would be three ways. A pathway of three milestones. Number one is to come to a trade mission to see how things are happening. It is true that people talk a lot on internet, but I do not necessarily agree with those who believe that all conversations have to be done online. In Africa, there's a saying that in French it says le terrain qui commande. That means that the ground that command what is going to happen. So people need to meet, but also as you come here, you understand the culture and the way of doing business, because this is very different from even in Asia. The way of doing business from Japan differs from India. Even in India, with all the states differs. Singapore is different. So we need to understand the culture of and how things are done. Number two would be to prepare a go-to-market, which is critical. And then the third one is to go into a trade investment forum to be able to see what are the opportunities that have been crafted. Please don't go with people who have not prepared the business plan, because you hear a lot of people, like you said, they've got ideas, but ideas without a concrete plan that has been prepared, developed, crafted is not going to bring you far. So you're going to lose your money. So for me, this is the pathway: is to come to a trade mission, to meeting the right people, to engage in terms of a go-to-market strategy yourself, and the third one, going to a trade investment forum where you have concrete business plans that have been done, prepared, and from there you just have to go forward to choose which one or you want to do.
Well, I guess yes, I strongly believe that putting up a trade mission could be the right first baby step initiative, which AACCI has been instrumental, and we have been taking a lot of trade delegations. So now again, you are no one different. You are also a part of AACCI family, as you are the ambassador for AACCI Trade. Now, before we end this wonderful session, where would you like to welcome the delegation next from now? Which country you would propose to have a delegation from AACCI?
I think we need to look into the two corridors, at least. The first one would be the northern corridor from Mombasa, Nairobi, up to Rwanda. The second one would be obviously Abidjan and Lagos. So Ivory Coast and Nigeria. And finally, what we do our trade investment forum in Mauritius.
You don't need to be as greedy as I am. So you started from the east. Yes. But
East
anyway,
and west,
thank you, Rhavy.
south afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Fine, guys. Thank you, Rhavy. Thank you so much. I would like to also thank all the viewers for your valuable time that you spared. As we always say in AACCI, keep watching, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Rhavy, thank you once again for your valuable time and your inputs with AACCI. Keep watching, guys. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Rhavy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.